Are you lost in the chaotic whirlwind of day-to-day busyness? Do you yearn for a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in your life? Welcome to Be You, Your Story, Your Purpose, the podcast dedicated to empowering women on their journey of self-discovery and finding their true purpose through their own story. I'm your host, Brenda Simmons. Welcome, my friends. I'm so grateful that you have joined me on the podcast today. I want to talk with you today about time management. Time management is something that I actually struggled with for a long time in my life. For many, many years, I really didn't do it at all. And part of it was the season that I was in. I just didn't feel like there was a need to. But then I realized that I really wasn't going anywhere with my life. I learned that there's a difference between letting life happen to you and creating the life that you want. And I found that I had fully subscribed to the former. So I started to set some goals, and I reached some of my goals and others I really didn't. And so I felt like I wasn't very good at goals. I was good at goal setting and goal making, but I just felt like I wasn't very good at really achieving my goals. And so what I learned through that process is that reaching your goals is time management. And so I had to figure out a way that worked for me where I was in control of the time that I was allotted every single day. And we're all allotted that same amount every single day. It's really what you do with it that is so different. So if you really think about it, all of life is all about managing your time and really creating that life that you want. It's not going to just happen, as I unfortunately learned over many, many years. And so I felt like I was playing a lot of catch up on that. Now, there are a whole lot of books about how to manage your time. So here's a few examples. Eat That Frog, The 4-Hour Work Week, 168 Hours, You Have More Time Than You Think. All of these are really great books. They're fantastic. And you can learn a whole lot from these different books. And I'm grateful for them. And here's the thing, though. There are a lot of similarities with them. And so you can read them and you can study them and research what they're doing. But just know that there are a lot of overlaps, and it's interesting, when you read something, one author really speaks to you and one maybe doesn't. And so you're kind of picking and choosing, what really resonates with you. But it's really interesting because there's also a lot of contradictory information as well. So, I mean, like you've got, as far as like goal setting, which remember is time management, you've got massive action versus slow and steady action. And I mean, things like that. I mean, and you'll see that in the time management sphere as well. So one of the key components of time management is identifying the types of activities that we have to fill our day. And there are lots of models for this, but to keep it simple, we're going to use the rocks in the jar metaphor. And perhaps you have heard of this before. So you've got, a bunch of sand and some intermediate size, some smaller rocks, and then some larger rocks. And so the question is, can they all fit in the jar? Well, if you put that sand in first, and then you put the intermediate rocks in there, and then you put the larger rocks in there, they don't fit at all because you've got a lot of empty space between those bigger rocks. However, if you reverse that order and you put the largest rocks in first, and then your intermediate size rocks, and then you fill all that space up with sand, then all of that is going to fit into that one jar. Well, time is like this. And so and I'm going to use this, create a metaphor. And so bear with me as I build this out. So your larger rocks are going to be your action time, right? These are the most important things, the highest priority things that you have. They're the actions that you need to take to generate the most momentum towards accomplishing your goals. So those are the largest rocks, the most important things. The smaller rocks, or the intermediate size rocks, that is your income time, right? These are the things that are of great importance. They're critical even because they're the things that maintain our lives, right? Your jobs, you pay your bills, you got to go grocery shopping, and while these things are necessary, they're not necessarily, while they are necessary in life, they don't necessarily move you forward and give you the momentum that you need in creating the life that you want. Maybe they do. but not always. Going grocery shopping, while it's vital, isn't really going to propel you forward in the kind of life that you want, right? So you can kind of see what I mean by that. Your sand then is your miscellaneous time. These are filler activities. They're the things that make us feel busy and they create movement, but they are not propelling us forward into the life that we want to create. So things that would be included in this category would be like social media, watching TV, and bear with me on the next two, education and planning. Now, you may think, wait a minute, education and planning are really, really important. What I mean by applying them to this miscellaneous category is you have to be really careful. What is the purpose of the education and the planning? If it's to go to a close class just to learn something that you haven't learned, is that really going to propel you forward into the life that you want? It might. And so it might go up into a different category, but you have to look at the intent. And then you look at planning. I think sometimes, and I know I've done this so many times myself, but sometimes we get so entrenched in planning and kind of doing the back scenes things that again, they don't move us forward, but it's really nice to have them. Like it's like you might create a plan and then decorate your plan and, make it visible on your wall and, all those little things that are still in the planning phase, but you're stalling. I guess that's my point. You're not moving forward with it. It's one thing to make a plan. It's another thing to spend extra time on it. That is filler time. So that's what I mean by those things. So just remember that the sand is your miscellaneous time. It's your filler time. I'm not saying that miscellaneous time is bad. We need miscellaneous time. We're going to have a lot of fun things that happen in miscellaneous time. It's all vital. And so actually all three of these are vital. So if you take your 24-hour day, right? You take 8 hours of it out for sleeping. That leaves us with 3 8-hour increments left over. And so what we want to do is shoot for having 8 hours of action time, 8 hours of income time, 8 hours of miscellaneous time. Now, there's a lot of nuance to that. You're not going to have that every single day. Obviously, some days are going to be, more action time. Other days are going to be more income time, right? And so just give yourself a little bit of grace as you're going through that, but just understand that if you are spending more time in miscellaneous time than, say, your action time, the things that you actually want to accomplish, then just know that you're out of balance. And so it's a really good general check of, am I spending my time wisely so that I am creating the kind of life that I want? So you're going to want to spend 33% of your time in each one of those categories. Once you have decided on the parameters at each level, because you've got to go in and decide, okay, well, like for the planning, maybe planning is an action. But if you spend too much time planning, it goes down to miscellaneous. So you have to decide what the parameters are for each of those categories, your action, income, and your miscellaneous time. And only you get to do that. Nobody else gets to do that. You're the one that gets to define that because you're the one that has the idea of what you want your life to be like. And so once you have done that, then you can review what you have going on, right? There's a daily review that you need to do. And this is something that I really failed to do back when I was learning how to do all of this. I would have my goals, but then I wouldn't really make a plan on how to get them. And then if as I got further on into it, I would kind of create a plan, but then I wouldn't follow it. So there was a lot of trial and error that I went through to get to where I'm at right now. So once you've decided on the parameters of each level, how you're going to define action time and income time and miscellaneous time, now you've got to decide on the specific daily actions that are going to fit in those things. And so there's a few questions that you can go through. Number one, you're going to look at your day and go, okay, well, what are the actions or what are the things that I have going on today that are already there? Appointments, things that you have to do, all that kind of thing. So look at the things that are already set in place that you can't move. Then you're going to look at, okay, well, what actions will propel my goals forward the most? Another question is, what are the things that are bothering me? And I don't know if you have ever experienced this. This happens to me all the time. If there's something that's really bothering me, then I know that that is actually a high priority because that's my subconscious telling me, hey, this is important. You need to get it off your to-do list, off your chest or whatever, and really deal with it. So pay attention to those things that are really bothering you, and those are become the things that have a higher importance. So another question is, who are the most important people that I need to talk with today? So again, thinking about, what are those actions that need to be in that action time that are going to move you forward the most. Sometimes it's a person that you need to contact. You may not even know why. You may just go, well, that's really weird. I had a friend, check this out. This was so interesting. I have a friend, she had this goal. She wanted to go to Paris. That was her goal. And she was thinking about this one day, what are the things that I need to do today to move me closer to reaching my goal of being able to go to Paris? So the thought came to her, you need to go to the grocery store. And she was like, that's so bizarre. How is that going to help me? Well, she decided to lean into that inspiration. And so she went to the store. And lo and behold, she met a friend there who had recently gone to Paris and they were able to chat and she got a lot of her questions answered. So really truly asking, in the mornings or whatever, whenever you want to do it, what are the most important things? Who are the most important people that I need to talk with today? Those are all really important questions. And then finally, what will keep my momentum flowing? So sometimes we don't necessarily have a big thing to do, but it's those little things that, okay, if I just go back and review my goals, sometimes that's all the momentum that you need just to keep it top of mind. Or maybe it's to spend some time in front of your vision board. All of those little things can really make a huge difference if it's done consistently. Now, you can also decide on the most important things to do during the day by, well, this is something that I like to do. I like to sit down and go, okay, in these 4 categories, what are the most important things to do? And those categories are intellectual, physical, social, and spiritual. And so let me explain those a little bit. So when I say what's the most important intellectual thing that I need to do, I typically interpret that as, is there something that I need to research or something that I need to learn that will move my goals forward? So that's what intellectual means. Physical is not necessarily bodily physical, but I believe physical is more of bringing things into creation, right? So, or physical actions that you need to take, right? So it's not like just exercise. It is, things like, what like creating an outline for a podcast, right? That would be a physical goal for the day. And that one actually gets on my list quite a bit because obviously I'm doing podcasts. So social would be like who are the most important people I need to talk to. Maybe it's I just need to go to a networking group that day, or maybe it's I need to contact 10 people that day, whatever that is. So social is how are you interacting with other people? Sometimes it's a social media post that I need to make. So, and then spiritual is more of like what do I need to do to prepare myself to better receive inspiration or to be connected to my divine self? So think of those. So a lot of times that will include things like self-care. It will include sometimes I'll make that a go on a walk kind of a thing or spend some time tapping or things like that. Maybe I need to do some journaling. Maybe I need to pray. Maybe I need to go to bed earlier. Things that really help me to tap into that spiritual side of me. Okay, so then what I do is then I have those things on my to-do list and those become my rocks. Those are the big things that need to get done that day. Okay, Now, there are lots and lots of methods, even doing this part. And so again, it's just trial and error. I've kind of shown you what some of the things that I do, but it's not a hard and fast rule, right? It's just finding what works for me. I like to have a lot of flexibility. And so I used to beat myself up all the time because I was not good at time blocking. And, some people are like, from this hour to this hour, I'm going to do this, and this hour to that hour, and I'm going to do that. And they stick to it. And my life just doesn't work like that. And so I allow myself a little bit of flexibility. I know that, you know, I'm in the mornings, I'm going to do this activity. And then, I'll give myself a timeline, but I also know that if I go over or under a little bit based on things that happen, I'm totally okay with that. I don't beat myself up about that anymore. Now, here are the keys though. Whatever method you decide to go with, it needs to fit within these guidelines. Number one, it needs to stay within the bounds of the different categories or of your priorities. So you cannot call something that is a miscellaneous item an action item, right? That would go against the whole priority thing, right? Your system has to be simple. If it's too complicated, then you're just not going to do it. And that's the third thing is you've got to be able to do it consistently. And so if it's too complicated and if it takes too much time for you, there are some people who may like things more complex, and that's fantastic. That's phenomenal. That works for them. But if you're not like that and you need to keep it super, super simple, then you've got to go with that. And so, because it's what is done consistently is what gets you the kind of life that you want. That is what's going to get you the goals that you want to reach that will lead to the life that you want. So now you need to remember that the order matters. If you're always starting off with your miscellaneous items, that's not a good approach, right? You've got to do those priorities first, do those large rocks first. So the process is aim, income, miscellaneous. Okay. Sorry, not aim. It's action, miscellaneous, income, right? And so we are going to aim for success. Okay. If it is the opposite, if you're constantly doing things the opposite order, where you're filling your days with the miscellaneous things, so you're not getting to all of your action items, then it is miscellaneous, income, and action, or it's MIA. So your success will be missing in action. And so that order is super, super important. Now, you need to remember that motion is not action. Motion is our miscellaneous items. Action is our big priority action items, okay? They are not the same thing. Just because you're moving doesn't mean that you are moving forward. You might just be running the treadmill and just working, and not getting anywhere in life. And if that's happening to you, then you really need to look at what are you doing in your time? With your time, what are you doing throughout your day? Do you have goals? What are you doing every single day to move yourself towards achieving those goals? So I hope this was really helpful. This, like I say, I have totally gone through a metamorphosis when it comes to time management because I was so bad at it. So take it from a recovering really bad time manager that it is possible to find a system that works for you and to stick with it. If you find the right one, you will stick with it. And then it becomes really exciting. Oh, I got all of this stuff done today. And oh, look at how much closer I am to my goal. And so it becomes really fun to then see what you are able to do. And I think you'll be really astonished at what you can do and that you are just more awesome than you even think you are, because you are. So I hope that was super helpful for you today. If you would please like and subscribe the podcast, that really just does wonders for me. And I just so appreciate all the supports that you give to me. And until next time, just know that your purpose is in your story. Take care.
Celebrate your dreams, let them take flight, for you are a star, shining bright in every step